Emma poured the coins onto the small kitchen table and listened to the thin, tired sound they made as they scattered. She counted once, then again, then a third time, slower, as if patience might change the truth. It didn't. $34.12. That was all she had. Rent was due in a week. The fridge hummed almost empty. And tomorrow was Christmas. Outside, their apartment complex glowed with decorations, plastic reindeer, blinking lights, wreaths tied with red bows. Laughter drifted up from somewhere below. Emma rested her elbows on the table and pressed her fingers to her forehead. She wasn't worried about gifts the way ads wanted people to be. She wasn't chasing luxury. She just wanted to give Jake something that felt like love made visible. Jake never asked for much. He worked long hours, came home smelling like cold air and cheap coffee, and still found the energy to smile at her like she was the best part of his day. He said things were temporary whenever money got tight. He said it with confidence, like struggle was just a season that couldn't last forever. Emma stood and walked to the narrow bathroom mirror. The light flickered before settling. Her reflection stared back, tired eyes, a familiar face, and long hair falling past her shoulders. It was the one thing she had always taken care of. Not because it was beautiful, but because it was hers. Jake loved it in a quiet way. He ran his fingers through it when words felt unnecessary. He said it made their tiny apartment feel softer. Emma touched it now, slowly. A knot formed in her chest, not of fear, but of clarity. Love, she realized, wasn't the absence of sacrifice. It was the decision to make it willingly. She thought of Jake opening a gift tomorrow morning, trying not to show disappointment if it was small. The thought hurt more than the idea forming in her mind. The mirror reflected her hesitation, then her resolve. Emma turned off the light, grabbed her coat, and stepped back into the cold December evening. The coin stayed on the table. Some choices, she knew, couldn't be counted in dollars at all. The salon door chimed softly as Emma stepped inside, carrying more doubt than confidence. Warm air wrapped around her, thick with the smell of shampoo and hairspray. The place felt too bright, too normal, as if nothing important was about to happen. She took a seat in the chair near the mirror and wrapped her hands together in her lap, afraid that if she moved, she might change her mind. The stylist smiled and asked what she wanted done. Emma hesitated, then spoke quickly, before courage could fade. When the scissors were raised, her heart thudded hard against her ribs. She watched her reflection as the first lock fell, landing silently on the floor. It felt strange, lighter and heavier at the same time. With each cut, she told herself this was just hair. It would grow back. What mattered was the look on Jake's face tomorrow morning. Across town, Jake stood in a narrow pawn shop, the kind that smelled like dust and old stories. He turned his watch over in his hand, thumb tracing the scratches on the back. It had belonged to his father, passed down with quiet pride. Jake checked the time on it even when his phone was in his pocket, like it anchored him to something steady. Letting it go felt like letting go of a voice he still listened for. The man behind the counter named a price. It wasn't much. Jake nodded anyway. Emma deserved something beautiful, something that would last longer than the season they were struggling through. He told himself love wasn't proven by holding on. It was proven by knowing when to let go. That evening, they met at home carrying small paper bags, trying too hard to act casual. Emma noticed Jake's wrist immediately and said nothing. Jake noticed her hair and swallowed before smiling. They sat together on the couch, knees touching, the room quiet except for the heater clicking on and off. They exchanged gifts with nervous hands, laughter breaking through the tension. As the truth unfolded, surprise turned into understanding, and in that shared moment, neither felt poor at all. For a few seconds, the room was completely still. Emma held the silver hair combs in her palms, their delicate teeth catching the light. Jake stared at the empty place on his wrist, where the watch had rested for as long as he could remember. Neither spoke, not because they didn't know what to say, but because the meaning of the moment was unfolding too quickly for words. Emma was the first to laugh. It started as a small, shaky sound, then grew until tears slipped down her cheeks. Jake joined in, relief softening the tightness in his chest. The laughter wasn't about the mistake or the irony. It was about recognition. They had both chosen the same thing, without knowing it. They had both loved bravely and blindly. Emma reached for Jake's hand, her fingers fitting easily into his palm. The combs rested on the table, beautiful but suddenly unimportant. Jake imagined the watch somewhere behind glass, waiting for a stranger who would never know what it had meant. Instead of regret, he felt peace. The watch had measured time, but this moment felt timeless. They sat close on the couch, legs tangled, sharing the quiet that followed. Outside, cars passed on the street, headlights sliding across the walls. Somewhere, music drifted from another apartment, faint and imperfect. It felt real. It felt earned. Emma leaned her head on Jake's shoulder, her short hair brushing his cheek. He smiled at the difference, at the proof of her choice. She whispered that she was sorry, then stopped herself. There was nothing to apologize for. What they had given up had become something larger than what they received. That night, they placed the gifts back in their boxes and tucked them away, not as failures, but as reminders. Love, they realized, wasn't about perfect timing or perfect presence. It was about intention, about seeing someone fully and saying, without hesitation, "You matter more." As they turned off the lights and settled into bed, the apartment felt warmer than it had all winter. They had no extra money, no useful gifts, but they had something rarer, a shared understanding that sacrifice, when born from love, was never truly a loss.